Day as a national holiday with paper ballots, government-issued voter ID to match the voter file, and yes, English as the sole language that appears on a ballot. This is not controversial. Again, this is common sense. These aren't black ideas or white ideas. These aren't even really Democrat ideas or Republican ideas. These are American ideals that we fought a revolution to secure in this country. And I believe deep in my heart that those ideals still exist. I'm running for president to revive them. It's on the back of our coins. It says it on every coin. You can look at it. Get change from the Pizza Ranch when we're back here. E pluribus unum. It means from many, one. That's what we've lost in this country. We've been taught to celebrate our diversity and our differences so much that we forgot all of the ways we are really just the same as Americans, bound by that common set of ideals. And here's how we're going to get it back. It's going to be by all of us, not just me. All of us starting to speak the truth in the open again. Say in public what we will say in private at the dinner table. Say it with a spine. Say it with conviction. Say it with respect. But part of respect is that you respect your neighbor enough to tell him what you actually think. That's what this campaign is about. Speaking the truth, not just when it's easy, but when it's hard. Speaking the truth, not just to the Democrats on the other side, but to our own side right here in the Republican Party. That's what it's going to take to get this country back. There's a reason why I'm the only candidate in this race who's able to say certain things. Able to say that I'm dead set opposed to that carbon dioxide capture pipeline that's being built across half this state, using eminent domain to seize the land of innocent farmers. To say that it is based on a climate change agenda that absolutely is a hoax because it has nothing to do with the climate. To say that Ronna McDaniel, the failed chairwoman of the RNC, needs to step aside after 5 failed years of leadership. We need accountability in our own party in order to deliver accountability in government. To say that I will pardon all peaceful protesters on January 6th and review case by case any individual who had their constitutional rights denied. Because that's what it means to stand for one standard of the rule of law in this country. Ask yourself why. Why am I the only candidate in this race who could even touch these issues? It's because politics is broken. I can tell you this. I'm a businessman. I come in from the outside. You know, you think it's going to be bad when you're coming in as a businessman, and you think it's going to be corrupt. I was wrong. It is far worse than I ever imagined. Every politician is dancing to the tune of their biggest donor. It's a fact. In my case, that biggest donor is me. I'm not going to be somebody else's circus monkey. I refuse to be a pawn on a chessboard. That's how this game is played. I would rather speak the truth and lose an election than to win by playing some political snakes and ladders. I think it's going to be the winning strategy, but that's not my choice. That's your choice. I think we're going to win the Iowa caucus. I think we're going to win it in a massive surprise on January 15th. Most of our supporters aren't polled, but I mean what I say. I'd rather speak the truth and leave the results to you all than to try to craft what we're supposed to say through poll-tested platitudes served up by a bunch of super PACs put up by donors that view their politicians as pawns. That's why our politics is broken. The things I'm saying, they're controversial not because they are false, but because they are true. And the things in that leaflet on your desk. 10 years ago, you would have shooed me out of here for saying this stuff is too obvious. Why are you wasting my time saying this? Basic things that we used to be able to say in public. That God is real. That there are 2 genders. That fossil fuels are a requirement for human prosperity. That reverse racism is racism. That an open border is not a border. that parents determine the education of their children, that the nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to mankind, that capitalism is still the best system known to man to lift us up from poverty, that there are 3 branches of government in the United States, not 4, and that the U.S. Constitution is the strongest and greatest guarantor of freedom in human history. That is the truth. We fight for the truth. We stand up for the truth. That is what won us the American Revolution. That is what reunited us after the Civil War. That is what won us 2 world wars and the Cold War. That is what still gives hope to the free world. And if we can revive that dream over group identity and victimhood and grievance, then nobody in the world, not a nation, not a corporation, not a virus, not China, is going to defeat us. That is what American exceptionalism is all about. And that is what we are going to revive to save this great nation. Thank you for coming out tonight, guys. God bless you and your families. May God bless our United States of America. We will not stop until we get this job done. I want to open this up and practice what we preach. I'm going to take a quick question from wherever you guys are. You can bring the microphone.
I just wanted to ask about how you use your influence to further trying to shut down ESG and build the fund that you had started previously. To shut down ESG.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you about this. So you're familiar with my prior life.
Yes.
It was entrepreneur's life. I did not think I was going to be running for politics or in partisan politics. That was not where I saw my future in this country. I wanted to drive change through the market. That's how we've actually, driven most of my change. I built a multi-billion-dollar biotech company, and then I wrote a book called Woke Inc. That was, laying out what my experience was as an entrepreneur, as seeing politics land at the doorstep of my company. I was a demand that I make a statement on behalf of Black Lives Matter, BLM, which I refused to do. That created a series of controversies, and that ultimately resulted in me having to face a hard choice. Either I could speak my mind freely and step down from my company, or I could bend the knee to the corporate orthodoxy of social diversity, equity, inclusion, and do what every other tech and biotech CEO was doing in this country. And I chose to step down, speak my mind freely. Now, how did I want to solve that? I thought we were going to solve it through the market. I started a company called Strive that competes directly against the likes of BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. BlackRock is using your money, our money, to vote for environmental, social, and governance agendas through the back door that the government could not enact through the front door under the Constitution. That's a fiduciary abuse. And so we created a firm that offered similar kinds of funds, but voted the shares exclusively in accordance with what maximizes profit for shareholders. And you know what? I believe in taking on bureaucracies and succeeding. We took on the bureaucracy of Big Pharma. We won with my first company. With Strive, we crossed over $1 billion in assets under management in the first year. That's twice as fast as it took J.P. Morgan to get to the same place. So I believe in conquering bureaucracies. But what I realized is that much of that agenda was actually being driven not by the invisible hand of the market, but by the invisible fist of government itself. Pension funds in California, New York, blue states that are telling BlackRock and Vanguard they don't get to manage that blue state money unless they adopt those toxic racial and gender ideologies. That's the truth. So we have to get in there and be willing to shut down that original sin, the head of the snake. That starts in the federal bureaucracy. Biden passed an ESG rule that changed the rules by which retirement fund managers actually are doing their job. What do? The retirement fund managers are governed by a rule that says you have to maximize profit if you're investing other people's money. Well, I think that if you change that rule, that changes the rules of the game. They said now you can use other factors like non-pecuniary factors such as climate change to invest that same capital. That's going to change on my watch. So we'll rescind that rule. We'll reset the rules of the road, restore fiduciary principles. And anytime a government actor is using a private actor to do something through the back door that the government couldn't do directly on its own. That's illegal behavior. Whether it's a tech company, whether it's a financial institution or otherwise. We the people choose our elected leaders through the front door. Yet today the real threats to liberty is they're using these financial institutions to do through the back door what they couldn't do through the front door. That's a constitutional violation. It's a violation of fiduciary principles. It will end on my watch as your next president. So hopefully that answers your question. Great question. Kind of a very detailed question, and you're familiar with my prior career, but it is actually one of the threats to liberty as we face it today. Thank you very much, my man. I appreciate it. Right there.
In 2007, here in Marshalltown, my mother was killed riding with us. An illegal alien with a fraudulent driver's license was driving in Marshalltown. What would you do to save people like that so that other families don't have to deal with what we had to deal with? We were told after the fact by the prior police chief that there were around 15,000 illegal aliens in the Marshalltown area. That's what we're dealing with here.
It's sad. I mean, it's every town is a border town now.
Yes.
I've been to the southern border. I've been to Eagle Pass, Texas. It's not even what you imagine. It's not like there's just people sneaking across the border and our border patrol agents are going and chasing them down. It's facilitated by our own government.
Right.
The flip side of this is the only good silver lining of that is this is a man-made problem. It's a man-made solution. We can do this. So I've said we will use our own military to secure our own southern border and our northern border too. Building the wall is not enough. They're building cartel-financed tunnels underneath that wall. Militarize the southern border. And not a dime of federal aid going to Central America or otherwise until they've stopped the flow of migrants across their own borders at each stop along the way. All the way from Venezuela to Mexico, to the northern border of Mexico. That solves a big part of that flow problem as well. Use aquatic barriers in the Rio Grande. Texas is trying to use them. The only reason that they're not able to get them done is not that the federal government won't do it, not because they don't work, but because they do work, actually. And then the best border policies of all are avoid the incentives to be here illegally in the first place. Stop federal funding for sanctuary cities. End birthright citizenship for the kids of illegal migrants to whom it was never actually supposed to apply. That's the hard answer to that question. The 14th Amendment of the Constitution, read it. It never was supposed to apply to the kids of illegal migrants. That's what we need to actually restore in Stanford on January 20th, 2025 when I take over. It will no longer apply to the kids of those illegal migrants. Now, what are we going to do for the illegals who are already here? Here's the answer to that question. Anybody who's in this country illegally must be returned to their country of origin. That's the hard answer to that question. I can't look my two sons in the eye and tell them they have to follow the law when, frankly, their own government isn't following its own rules. I refuse to be a president sitting in the White House with that hypocritical double standard. Sometimes being a parent gives you your moral clarity. Now they'll say, how will you do this? There's only 6,000 ICE agents, but there's millions in this country of illegals. This is where it helps to have a president who understands the law and the Constitution and understands it deeply. Okay? It takes somebody who's going to actually stand for basic rule of law, 287G. It's already on the books. That allows ICE agents to deputize local law enforcement or to delegate to local law enforcement the ability to serve their warrants. Now you have 1 million people in the United States who can serve those warrants. The country that put a man on the moon can get this done. It's not a challenge, technical challenge. It's a challenge of political will. It's a challenge of fortitude. And I do think it's going to take a president who has two different qualities in the same person. On one hand, you need somebody with sharp elbows, willing to break glass when necessary. You've seen that from me on the debate stage. You know what? You've seen it with me. You're going to see from me in Washington, D.C. With the media or otherwise, I'm going to bring that to D.C. and the bureaucracy. But it also takes a president who personally knows and understands the law and the Constitution in this country. And those two things don't usually go together. Right? You might have the academic law types over here. You might have the business guy who can cut through and execute over here, but those two things don't usually go together. They duped Trump, actually, in many ways. I mean, I'm a businessman. I'm willing to break glass. So was Trump. He brought that. But Without a first personal understanding of the law and the Constitution, they duped him. They said you can't fire those employees because of civil service protections. Well, not so fast. Read the law. Those civil service protections only apply to individual employee firings. They do not apply to mass layoffs. And mass firings are absolutely what I am bringing to the DC bureaucracy. That's the answer. And so I think it's going to take a president who embodies both of those characteristics in the same person. That's what drew me into this race. My faith teaches me that God puts each of us here for a purpose. That it's our moral duty to realize that purpose. That each of us has our own God-given gifts, our unique God-given gifts. And we have an obligation to use those gifts to do good in the short time we're given. And I believe that it's going to take somebody with both of those skills, and especially somebody with fresh legs from the next generation to actually see this through. As it relates to the border, we'll have that done by March of 2025. I take over on January 20th. By the end of March 2025, our border crisis is solved, southern border is sealed, and we have begun the mass deportation procedures that we need in order to restore the rule of law in this country. Thank you for that question. I appreciate it. Thank you. Young man right here. We'll go right here.
So, what inspired what inspired you to run for president?
Well, thank you for that. What's your name, man?
Caleb Bradsford.
Caleb, and how old are you?
10.
You're 10? 10-year-old young man here with us with the presidential candidate on an evening here. I'm proud of you for being here. I'll tell you, I'm somebody where if you see something that needs to be solved, I can't be a passive bystander and just watch it go wrong on its own. So I began my career as an entrepreneur. I started a business to fix the way that medicines were developed. It annoyed the heck out of me that it took 10 years and $1 billion plus on average to get a new drug to market. That contributes to high drug pricing in this country. I saw the pharmaceutical industry. It was so broken in the way that it was run. It was inefficient. People didn't have incentives to go faster. It was modeled on the government bureaucracy and the FDA that regulates that industry. So I said, you know what? I'm done just making that observation. I had a job at an investment firm where I observed this. So I'm actually going to step up and solve that problem. So I started a biotech company that went faster. I saw the ESG cancer, the way that companies, and then I saw how the politicization of corporate America landed on my own doorstep. I said, what's the root cause there? You have asset managers like BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard that are using trillions of dollars, $20 trillion of our own money, to foist that onto companies across this country. I want to step up and solve that problem. But here you get to the root cause of both of those, and really every major problem we encounter in our economy that I've encountered in my life, the root cause, the head of the snake, is that federal bureaucracy. And so for me, when I see a problem that needs to be solved and other people aren't stepping up to do it, that's what pulled me in. And Caleb, I'll tell you, you have a unique gift, whatever it is. God gives each of us our unique gifts. And I'll say that when you look yourself in the mirror as you grow up, you'll have a chance to discover what that is. And I would just say use that to the maximum of your potential. And that'd be the advice that I give you. Give you the final word of this.
My mom has the Walmart pharmacy. She's a type 1 diabetic. It is so overpriced. It's not even funny.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Is your mom here with us today? Thank you for bringing a motivated young man. I appreciate it. And he's right about that. And the reason why is we don't have competition in this marketplace. Why? Because Big Pharma has lobbied for exactly using the FDA as their gatekeeper to keep new competitors from coming to that market. And Caleb, in some ways, that's really my answer to your question is there's only so much that I feel like that I was able to do through the private sector as an entrepreneur. the premise of my company was to bring down the time and cost of developing new medicines. And some of that inefficiency was in pharma. But it comes back to the government, the corruption in the FDA, where the pharmaceutical industry lobbies the FDA to make sure that they keep other competitors out by making the restrictions to new competition that much higher so that they can charge, in many cases, what are extortive prices. And that's wrong. But we're not going to fix that problem by throwing our hands in the air and asking somebody else to solve the problem. We don't have that much time left as a country. I mean, if I would go so far as to say, Caleb, if you're out of high school before we get this right, I don't think we have a country left. Not the same country that we knew and grew up in. And when you leave high school, probably you'll be 18 in January of 2033 when I'm leaving office after 2 terms. I want to tell you that we brought down not only the cost of prescription drugs, we grew this economy. We shut down that regulatory apparatus, that deep state. I want to tell you, we did a lot of things in this country. We declared economic independence from China, where many of those pharmaceuticals are coming from. That we stayed out of World War III in the process, so you don't have to fight somebody else's war with $200,000 of debt, national debt on your shoulders. I want to tell you all of those things, but the thing I most want to tell you is that your generation, that my 2 sons and their generation, that they are once again proud to be citizens of this nation. If I do that, I've done my part. You're doing yours, my young man. I love the way you come in here and you'll be unafraid to ask questions. That's what I want out of your generation, and we're excited for you. So thank you, Caleb. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate your mom for bringing you. Thank you. What's your name, ma'am?
Lana Brad.
Lana. Nice to meet you.
Nice to
Thank
meet
you.
you.
Thank you for coming today. We'll go to the young woman in the back.
Yeah, teacher. I would be fine. So, you say that you want us to be unafraid to say what we're thinking out
Yes.
in public. Okay, well, there's not literally anything stopping me from speaking my mind when standing on a public sidewalk, as things are. There's not literally something stopping me. But if I want to share that opinion on the internet, then I'm at the mercy of Facebook and
Yep.
Twitter and their algorithms either emphasizing or suppressing certain ideas. And
That's
I
right.
think that the ability of the common people to speak their mind is going to be very reliant on the ability for them to have a platform where they can in the first place, because Facebook is not public. Facebook is a corporation.
Right.
Technically, it can do what it wants.
Well,
what's the way forward for free speech?
it's a great question, but I'll pause on one point there, because that's the general assumption that these are private tech companies, free to decide what they do and don't do on the internet. But I'll double click on that for a second, to use a tech expression. Okay. Actually, here's what's going on. The government is actually using those tech companies. It's like what I said to the first question, how they're using financial institutions to do through the back door what the government couldn't do through the front door. That's what they're doing with tech companies. They're quietly telling Facebook and Google and otherwise, we'll break you up. We'll regulate you. Unless you take down hate speech and misinformation as we define it. Well, guess what? That's not the action of a private company then. That is state action in disguise. And if it's state action in disguise, then the Constitution still applies. That's the hard answer to your question. So it's actually a topic near and dear to my heart. I wrote some articles about this, and it included this in my first book, Woke Inc., the legal argument here for this. That's now being used in cases making their way across the country to the Supreme Court, saying that, you know what, that's not the action of a private company. I'm tempted to, I'm going to go into a level of detail here that I normally wouldn't, but you're a teacher, you asked a good question, so I'll go a layer deeper than my campaign advisors would normally tell me to go. They say, keep it simple, dumb it down. I don't always agree with that. So I'll give you 2 cases, actually. One is Bantam Books. It was a case where a bookstore owner wanted to sell a book. A local prosecutor didn't like that book. He said, take it down. Bookstore owner says no. He says, well, guess what? I'm going to prosecute you for these other offenses unless you take it down. So the bookstore owner says, okay, fine, I'll take it down. A customer wanted to buy that book. The customer comes later that week, wants to buy the book. that he thought the bookstore owner had. The bookstore owner didn't sell it to him because he's under threat by the prosecutor. The customer sues the bookstore owner, takes it all the way to the Supreme Court. What do they find? The Supreme Court said that wasn't the decision of a private company. That was government censorship because it was state action in disguise. Well, that's exactly what's happening with the tech companies today. They're saying it's a tech company doing the censorship, but if it's the government effectively threatening them to do it, that's not the action of a private company. So that's one case. There's another case to come from another angle of the railroad companies. Okay, it relates to railroad companies, but it relates to the war on drugs. So during the war on drugs, the government wanted to be able to search and seize the passengers of railroads for their person, whether they were carrying drugs. But there's this pesky little thing in our Constitution called the Fourth Amendment that stops the government from being able to do that. So the government had an idea. They passed a law that says, okay, we're not going to search the passengers ourselves. We're just going to give railroads a special blanket of immunity, legal immunity, to say that if the railroad searches a passenger, then the passenger can't sue the railroad company over it, even if state laws prohibit that. That went all the way to the Supreme Court. A passenger who that happened to sued, and the Supreme Court again said, not so fast. The government can't give a blanket of immunity, federal immunity, to a class of companies to do something that the government couldn't do directly under the Constitution. That's exactly what the government's done for big tech. It's a law called Section 230 that says there's all kinds of state laws that say you can't discriminate based on political viewpoint. But that allows them to take down constitutionally protected speech. So it's just like they did for the railroad companies. So here you have both carrots and sticks they're using to get tech companies to censor speech they otherwise couldn't directly. That's backdoor work. And our founding fathers would be rolling over in their graves if they see that happening today. And our current Supreme Court agrees with me. And as president, one of the things I've said is anytime a government bureaucrat has threatened a private company to do something that that government actor couldn't do directly, we're going to expose it. We're going to publish it. We'll call it the state action files. And we will hold those government actors accountable for that. That's how we drive change in this country. Elon Musk did that for one company at Twitter. We saw how bad that was. That's happening across our economy. And as the next U.S. president, you have my pledge. It's one of the first executive actions I'm going to take. Expose that. Hold the government lawbreakers accountable. That's how you address the true invisible hand of censorship. So what I said to you, it's not the invisible hand of the market. It's the invisible fist of government. That's how we're going to put an end to that. I appreciate that. And thank you for letting me get into that level of detail with you. I appreciate it. We'll go to the gentleman in the back. Yeah. Oh, nice. You guys know each other?
We're married.
Oh, nice. Okay, good, good. Got both members of the family.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, quite well, yeah. Well, thank you for being here. And my question is about Ukraine. So
Yeah.
I very much appreciate your perspective. One of the first people to point out the problem of
Yes.
just unlimited support. Do you foresee if there is a way to fix this void with Russia? Not that I'm saying we should be best friends, but I look at China as the biggest threat to this country's national security. Obviously, Russia running into their arms is a bigger threat, like putting two enemies in one basket. If we can turn them against each other, it would probably be a good idea. Do you have a way, like a vision of how you could get Russia to once again turn against China, or at the very least,
Yes, I do.
Is?
It's a great point. So thank you. You've I think taken a look at my position on this, which I appreciate. My view is the top threat that we face in the United States right now is the Russia-China alliance. Those two countries are in an agreement with one another, a military agreement. Russia has larger nuclear stockpiles and hypersonic missile capabilities ahead of that of the U.S. China has a naval capacity ahead of the U.S., and we depend on China for our modern way of life, from our pharmaceuticals to our semiconductors that power, well, Taiwan, which they soon want to invade. So that's where we are today. So I'm worried that as we're arming Ukraine to the teeth, we're seeing evidence that that's driving Russia further into China's hands. So disbanding the Russia-China alliance should be a top foreign policy priority for the next U.S. president. It's amazing how nobody in either party is talking about this. This is the real risk of World War III that we face. So what I've said is I would end the war on reasonable terms. It's entirely unclear what the next $100 billion is going to do that what the first $100 billion didn't, and that there isn't going to be another $200 billion to follow. In fact, that's where this road goes. We've seen this in Iraq and Afghanistan. $7 trillion of our $34 trillion national debt was due to those two wars, where we send thousands of people your age, our age, and younger to go die. To what end? The Taliban is still in charge, for God's sake, 20 years later. Iraq is still a broken country, worse than it was when we first occupied. So we know where this road ends. I won't repeat those same mistakes. Those who claim to have foreign policy experience is not the same as foreign policy wisdom. So that's the way I would end the Ukraine war, on reasonable terms that allow Ukraine to come out with its sovereignty intact. A commitment, yes, that NATO will not admit Ukraine to NATO, but Russia then has to weaken its military alliance with China. That's how we reduce the risk of World War III, through diplomacy, without putting our sons and daughters or trillions more of our taxpayer dollars on the line. And so that's my foreign policy in a nutshell. Avoid World War III. Declare economic independence from communist China, and then use our own military to secure our own homeland. That shouldn't be a radical idea. We're as vulnerable as we've ever been to cyber attacks, super EMP attacks, missile defenses that we badly need that we don't have, space-based defenses. That's what my priority is. And George Washington said this in his 1796 farewell address. We have to look after the interest of our nation first. Again, my job as a father sometimes gives me my moral clarity. Just as a father, my moral duty is to my family. As your next president, my sole moral duty is to you. The people of this country, not any other one. I don't apologize for that. America first doesn't come with an asterisk. There's two principles. We use that word a lot. I'm an America first conservative. But what does it mean? Right? That agenda does not belong to one man. It doesn't belong to Donald Trump. It doesn't belong to me. It belongs to you, the people of this country, to we the people. What does it mean? Two core principles. One is the people who we elect to run the government ought to be the ones who actually run the government. Shutting down that shadow government, that's the one war I promise I will wage. It's not going to be some pointless foreign war. The war I will wage in this country is on our own shadow government right here at home. Shut down that administrative state. Don't reform it. Shut it down. And then abroad, here's the second point, is the people we elect to run the government runs the government. But the people who we do put in those positions, they owe a sole duty to America's citizens in our own homeland. What disappoints me about so much of the Republican Party is you have an agenda now talking about cutting Social Security and veterans benefits so that we could ship $200 billion more to Ukraine. No, that's America last, not America first. To me, I think it is my moral duty, it is a moral obligation to take care of the citizens of this country who have been carrying somebody else's water for a long time. $34 trillion in national debt. If the interest payments on our national debt become the largest line item in our federal budget, we're done. That's the ball game. We're in quicksand then. There's no path out of that. So we're not, you know when that is? That's not happening a long time from now. That's happening in about 5 years. To Jacob's question earlier, that's part of what pulled me into this race too. Is Jacob? Caleb, sorry. Caleb's question earlier. You were looking at me like, who's he talking about? Fair. That's very fair. Caleb's question earlier, that's what pulled me into this race, is we don't have a lot of time. We're not working with the luxury of time here. But I think it's going to take a president who understands not only, we got to go in and break glass with sharp elbows, sure, but it's got to be an outsider who understands the law, who understands the why, and the sense of urgency of what needs to be done now. So it's not just end the Ukraine war for the sake of ending the Ukraine war. We can accomplish something strategic for the United States, disband that Russia-China alliance. That's how we get this done. I'll take one last question. Oh, there's so many good ones. Okay, go quickly, and I'll kind of weld and answer all three of you. You want to go first, and then we'll come to you.
My grandfather, member of the Methodist Church for a long time, they had to vote recently to separate from the Methodist Church because wokeism had definitely infiltrated the upper echelon of the church. And my question to you is, and maybe just a little about your own belief system as well, how do we protect our religious institutions from this infiltration?
So I'll tell you, that's not just the job of the government, because you don't want the government to be in the business of meddling in those religious affairs. But I do think with this wokeism epidemic is spreading like a mental health epidemic that it is. I'll tell you a word about my faith, since you brought it up. I'm Hindu. A little different background than people who have traditionally run for U.S. president, admittedly. But I went to Christian schools at St. Xavier High School in Cincinnati, and I can tell you with confidence that we share the same value set in common. Began telling Caleb earlier, my faith teaches me that God puts each of us here for a purpose. That it's our moral duty to realize that purpose. That God works through us in different ways, but we're still equal because God resides in each of us. That's what my faith teaches me. I had a very traditional upbringing. My parents taught me, family is the foundation. Marriage is sacred. Honor your parents. Marriage is the foundation as well. The good things in life involve a sacrifice. Adultery is wrong. Abstinence before marriage is the way to go. Divorce isn't some option you just pick off of a menu of preferences when things go a little wrong. It's not just about this life. It's about the eternal life as well. Those are, I would call, very traditional values. And so when I get to St. Xavier High School in 9th grade, I'm 14 years old, we read the Ten Commandments for the first time. What do they say? It's almost as though we treat that as though it's out of fashion. There's one true God. Don't take his name in vain. Observe the Sabbath. Honor your parents. Don't lie. Don't cheat. Don't steal. Don't kill. Don't commit adultery. Don't covet. It didn't feel like I was reading those values for the first time. They feel foreign today in our country. Much of this woke epidemic is really a new religion that has really crowded out the old religion. But I don't think they're foreign to most of us. I think they are the Judeo-Christian values that this nation was founded on. By the way, values that I share deeply in common. So will I stand for those values as your next president? You're darn right I will. Especially as a young person, especially as a person who's different in a lot of ways. And we do have a religiously pluralistic country, but we want people of different faiths to still stand by those same values, to make faith and family and patriotism and hard work cool again, actually, for the next generation. That's my job. It's one of my jobs, certainly as your next president. It's part of reviving our national character. And I think part of what's happened is every one of our institutions is no different in churches than it is in companies or in schools. We've lost our sense of self-confidence to stand for what's right, what we know to be true, without apologizing for it. I think we've been living in this culture of self-flogging, apologizing for who we are. That's what the climate agenda is about. Flogging ourselves for our modern way of life, even as we shift those same carbon emissions to China. And I think there's some vestige of that you may be seeing in every institution, churches even included. And so part of my job as the next president, half the job is policy, and we've talked a lot about policy tonight. But the other half of the job is to revive our national character. Revive our self-confidence. Part of the assault on religious institutions, including Christianity, is coming from the government. It's a violation of the First Amendment. If I'm swearing an oath to the Constitution, you're darn right I'm going to keep that oath. Preserve religious liberty so every pastor doesn't have to be afraid of what he says from the pulpit when he loses IRS tax exemption status. I'm sorry, the IRS should not be some arbiter coming from on high deciding who gets to say what is or isn't a religion. And so I can do part of that job as the president through policy. I can do part of that job as president by standing with a national character that holds ourselves to a standard. It's probably the highest one I could imagine, which is to say that I want to look our kids in the eye and tell them that I want you to grow up and be like him, whoever that's in the White House. That's the standard I want you to hold us to. But part of this is going to have to be a bottom-up revival of that confidence as well. So I'm going to do my job as president, and the pastors in those churches are going to have to do their job as pastor. But my job as president, at least, is to swear an oath to the Constitution, stand by the religious liberty that the First Amendment guarantees. That way we get out of the way, and actually that's how pastors and other parents and everybody else in this country is going to be able to step up and do their job as well. So that much I'll get done as your next president. Thank you for the question. I appreciate that. Young man right there, and then we'll give the gentleman in the back the final word.
So I'm just asking about the stuff that's going on in Israel, stuff like that. And
some serious stuff.
Yeah, and
For sure.
also, I know you probably won't have time, but I was going to ask if you could sign these 2 books. One of them is for my brother in Missouri, and also this one dogman.
Well, I can't. I could hardly refuse that. So thank you. You got me on that one.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then we'll start moving the microphone to the gentleman in the back as I answer this question, which is, so what Hamas did to Israel was wrong. It was subhuman. It was immoral. And I believe Israel has an absolute right to defend itself to the fullest. And our job as Israel's ally, and our most important ally in the Middle East, is to stand diplomatically for Israel's right to defend itself. That's the most important thing we could do for Israel. Without the UN or the EU, or frankly, even the US getting in the way. You're starting to see that a little bit. Israel doesn't need a backseat quarterback, backseat driver, armchair quarterback. Israel doesn't need to be second guessed. They get to defend themselves. That's the founding vision of Israel. That's what David Ben-Gurion, the founder of Israel, would have said. That's what George Washington would tell us today. But that also means that it's not our job to intervene militarily. See, that muddies the waters. That's worse for Israel and worse for the United States. And so I've said that since day one. And initially, that people were saying, wait a minute. Now, actually, I think the rest of the Republican Party is coming around to that same view. So I'm not going to repeat the mistakes we made in Iraq and Afghanistan. Stand for our allies in the way they actually need us. A diplomatic Iron Dome. That's actually more valuable than writing a small check, but then muddying the waters and sort of being responsible for what they do, but then have to second guess their decisions. That's moral clarity. That's America first. And that's best for Israel to pursue an Israel first agenda too. And so that's how I would lead as the next president. Standing with our allies with fortitude, with strength, but in a way that doesn't cause us to get enmeshed in the next Iraq or the next Afghanistan. And frankly, young man, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
9.
You're 9. What's your name? Keegan. It's my job to make sure your generation does not end up mired in some war that isn't advancing our national interest. That's probably the most important thing. The two things I can do for you is make sure that you don't have that national debt hanging over your shoulder. You put me in that office, that much I know how to get done for you. I'll tell you on that one, in a nutshell, how we do that. Take the oil and gas out of our ground, sell it, and buy down trillions of dollars of our national debt, and avoid foreign wars that don't add more to it. With that and the 75% reduction in the federal employee headcount that I'm bringing, we're good on the national debt on my watch. I know how to do that. And the second thing is keep us out of those foreign wars, not just for the money, but to make sure we don't put our sons and daughters' lives on the line as we've made mistakes in the past. That's going to end on my watch, and you have my word to you that that's what I owe your generation. Thank you for that question, young man. Proud of you for being here. And sir, in the back, we'll give you the final word.
Yeah, did Joe Biden steal the election?
Joe Biden didn't do anything. Joe Biden's not the president of the United States, really. I mean, not in any real sense of the word. He's a puppet of the managerial class. You haven't heard me today, and probably any of my other speeches today. I don't sit here bashing Biden. It's a waste of time. It's arguably elder abuse. You can think about it, right? And why are we only hearing about the documents case and the Hunter Biden corruption now, 7 years later? I'll tell you why. They're getting ready to move the old man out. The managerial class, the swamp, they have lost their use for their puppet. They're getting ready to trot out a new one instead. Right around March or so of next year is when it's going to happen. You mark my words on that. The last election absolutely was stolen by big tech, at the very least. I mean, those tech companies censored that Hunter Biden laptop story. You couldn't even send it via private messaging on the eve of a presidential election. And polling widely shows the election result would have been drastically different if not for that. It's the largest form of election interference we've seen in history until maybe we see Colorado trying to remove Donald Trump from the ballot. I mean, things you can't imagine. And by the way, standing on principle, I expect to be the nominee and I'm running to win this election. But I said that if they remove Trump from that ballot, I made a pledge that I would remove myself from the Colorado ballot as well. We should stand on principle, and I demanded every other Republican to do the same thing. We cannot see this assault on the way we conduct elections in this country. Got to stand on principle. It'd be easier for me if Donald Trump were eliminated from this race, but that's not how I want to win. I want to win because we, the people, select who leads this country. And if that's me, let it be me. We're standing up and ready to do it. But if it's somebody else, let the system work the way it's supposed to work, not by having either tech companies or oligarchs in the back of palace halls or judges, unelected judges in random states like Colorado deciding who does and doesn't run this country. That is not America. That is not what we fought a revolution to secure in this country. On this side of 1776, we, the people, create a government that is accountable to us. not the other way around. And so I haven't heard any of the other Republican candidates say a peep after I said this last night, but I will keep my pledge. They take Trump off the ballot in Colorado, my name's off as well. And so should every other Republican. That's how we stand for what's right, by thinking for what's right over the long run, just not today. I can't leave you hanging.
Okay. So my question would be, if in fact the election was stolen, how do you know, like with all of your policies that you're going to enact and whatever, how do you know that it being rigged won't happen to you?
Yeah, so listen, and now this is a good question for me to close on, because this is why I think it has to be me in this GOP primary nomination. And I'm in this for a reason. We're not in this for us. I mean, our family, my wife is a throat surgeon at Ohio State right now. That's why she's not here. She's with our younger son. She's saving lives for cancer survivors. Here on the weekends, she was here last weekend, she'll be here this weekend, back there working a full-time job as an academic surgeon. We're raising a 3.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. I promise you we're not doing this for comfort or for ease. But I think this cannot be a 50.1 election. This has to be a moral mandate, a landslide election. In this campaign, we are bringing along new voters, young voters included, into the Republican process who have never participated in a caucus. That's why I think we're going to win the Iowa caucus, by the way. We're going to deliver a shock on January 15th. Most of our supporters, they're not even polled. So we have a shock coming here on January 15th. I think we're going to win the Iowa caucus. That's going to propel me to win the nomination. But that's also how we win the general election in a landslide. And a landslide minus some shenanigans is still a decisive victory, which is what we're going to need. 40% of our donors are first-time ever donors to the GOP. Take policies that I've embraced. So you served in the National Guard, Army National Guard as well? Thank you for your service. I noticed from your hat. Thank you very much. We've released comprehensive veterans policy that actually has brought many independents, even some would-be Democrats, into our movement, because I'm the only candidate in either party that's offered clear policies for veterans to truckers in this country. And that's what we're rolling out on I-80 in Walcott, in Iowa next Thursday. And so from our healthcare policies and otherwise, we're bringing people in that go beyond the traditional partisan boundaries. That's part of also why I'm not here sitting here bashing Biden or the left. We have to offer a vision of our own. And if we do that, we can win this election. We will win this election in a landslide akin to what Ronald Reagan delivered in 1980. And I know that sounds about as ridiculous for me to say today as it did for Reagan to say in December of 79. But that's where I think we are. That's my responsibility. So you all make me your nominee. That's my responsibility to deliver back to you a multi-ethnic working class coalition of especially younger people who we would have otherwise written off. Bring them into our movement. That's how we're going to win this caucus. That's how we're going to win this primary. And then that's how I'm going to deliver you a landslide with, yes, some margin for error in that next election. I think that's what's going to be required to restore who we are. And if we do, I'll tell you this. We don't have to be that nation in decline. We don't have to be at the end of the ancient Roman Empire. I think the truth is, as a nation, we're like you, actually. What's your name? Summer. As a nation, we're really a little young, actually. Going through our own version of adolescence. Figuring out who we're really going to be when we grow up. And when you view it that way, it makes sense again, actually. You go through your adolescence, you go through that identity crisis. You lose your way a little bit. You do some stupid things. I did. Most of us probably did. But we are stronger for it when we get to our adulthood on the other side. So no, I don't think we have to be that nation in decline. I think we still can be a nation in our ascent, actually. Maybe even the early stages of our ascent, if you see it this way. Maybe we're not even yet at base camp. On our way still to that shining city on a hill. That country where we'll look our kids in the eye and tell them that you get ahead in this country with your own hard work, your own commitment, your own dedication. And that you know what? You are free to speak your mind at every step of the way. That is the American dream. That is what we are running to. And with your help, that's what we're going to revive to save this country. I'm here to ask you for your help, actually. A guy like me isn't supposed to do this. Coming in from the outside, not approved by the Republican establishment. The Republican establishment does not approve of this message. I'll tell you that. But I don't report to them. I report to you. If you want somebody who's going to speak truth to power, vote for somebody who's going to speak the truth to you. I think this is our chance to do this. I'm going to ask you for your help where I'm grateful for all of you being here tonight. I'm going to ask you for a donation, not of your money. A much more valuable donation, a donation of your time and your effort between now and January 15th. You tell 100 people in this community, each of you, who aren't here tonight, what we talked about tonight. Why you believe our best days can still be ahead of us. What we need to do on January 15th to make that happen. 30 minutes of your time on January 15th, the date of the Iowa caucus, to save this country. That's what I'm asking for. And if you all do your part, I promise you, my wife Apurva and I and our family, we will do ours to make sure, not in some fake politician way, but in a true way, to make sure that our country's best days are actually still ahead of us. Thank you for coming out today, guys. God bless you and your families. And may God bless our United States of America. Thank you. So thank you for your service.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you. Good to see you again. I appreciate seeing you again. I felt like I saw you before. It's good to see you. Thank you, guys. I so appreciate you. You spread that message for us, and we're going to do our part.
The first time we heard you, I said, I just want to know how genuine you are. After 4 times, you have me convinced, sir. You really
Thank
do.
you. That means a lot to me. We will do our part, I promise you.
Well, I appreciate
It's not easy for our family, but we're ready to do this.
We can tell that
We're ready to do this. Yes,
and
thank
we
you.
are ready to support you.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot to me. Hey, Caleb. Yeah. Sorry I called you Jacob. My mistake.
It's okay. But what do you think about the general rent that is going on?
The general what?
The rent that the government has gave us. It's been like $180 for about like a drop of water every time. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, I think part of this is the inflation in this country.
Gas prices.
Yes, so we'll be able to do that by increasing the supply of energy. I love how engaged you are, too. I'm proud of you. I'm expecting big things from you, man. You use those gifts. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
What's your name, sir?
Appreciate it. Eric.
Eric,
Slinga.
thank you for being here, my man.
Yeah, thanks.
I appreciate that. Thank
My
you.
son, Daniel.
Thank you. Daniel, hey, thank you for coming out, brother. Proud of you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. Hopefully you learned a thing or two tonight, maybe?
You know, I really want
Share it with your friends, okay?
You know,
Stay positive about our country.
I really want you to get elected.
Thank you, man. You want to volunteer with us? That'd be awesome. Hey, tell one of we got a young volunteer here.
Awesome.
Caleb, yeah. He's a lot of good energy there. Thank you.
Thanks
What's your name,
for all
sir?
your thoughts.
Thank you. What's your name?
We're really aligned. Bruce Johnson.
Bruce, thank you for being here, guys.
Thank you.
I
Thank you for
appreciate
coming.
you. Thank
Needed
you.
a bigger place.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll do that next time. Did we? Were you outside?
Yeah, we were hanging
I'm
right
sorry.
here.
Oh, could you hear?
Yeah,
Could you hear? I'm
we
sorry.
can hear.
I'm sorry about that, guys.
Zach, nice to meet you.
Thank you. Good seeing you, man. Thank you for being here. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thanks again. Thank you for bringing your son. And
thank you, sir.
If you're open to spreading the message, it's your generation we're doing this for, man. Have you done the Iowa caucus?
Never.
Oh, you got to do it this time.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of 1 million people showing up for the impact it has. So thank you. Thank you. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you.
I appreciate your question, man.
Back
yeah, it sounded like
years.
you've been following me long
Yep.
before this. Yeah.
Yep, and these
I
are
appreciate
my
that.
two sons
Oh, hey,
here,
guys. How old are you
so-
guys?
I'm 14.
You're 14?
17.
Big guys. All right. 17, you can vote in the Iowa caucus.
He'll
Actually.
be 18 in January. So.
Oh, awesome! You can, even if you're voting a little later than January 15th, you still can.
Really?
But yeah, bring people your age out. Have you done it before?
I have not.
You have
no.
not. You got to do it this time. Sign up and bring as many people as you can. That's
Yep.
what we need. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you
I
so
appreciate
much.
it. Thank you for being here, guys. Nice meeting you, man. Proud of you. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Hey,
Hey.
I love the shirt, man.
Thanks.
It's good to
Thank
see you.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you. What's your name?
My name's Gus.
Gus?
Hi, Sabra.
Sabra?
Yeah.
Good to meet you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, guys.
Vivek, I've been a fan for a while.
Thank you, man. How old are you?
I'm 18, turning
You're
19 the 5th.
Awesome. You can vote in the caucus.
Yeah.
Bring other young people out along with
Okay,
you.
I will.
It'll change the result.
Alrighty.
Absolutely. It's huge when young people. Sabra, it's nice meeting you. Have you done it before?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Proud. This is your son?
Yes.
Proud of you, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Vivek, I don't know why anybody in their right mind would want the job you're running for.
That's probably right.
But we need you, and America needs you. God
Thank you.
bless you.
We're in this for the
You bet.
country. We
You
won't
bet.
stop till we get it done.
You bet.
Spread the message for
You
us.
bet.
I'm proud of you for being
Go
here
ahead.
and saying
Glad
that.
to
Thank you.
listen to you. You bet.
Thank you. Thank you. If you sign up and spread the message, we'll do our
We'll-
part.
we'll do that.
What's your name again?
Gary?
Gary. Thank you, Gary. Hey, I will sign these for you. I've made you a promise. We're going to keep that.
Okay,
There you go. Oh, Plato's Republic. It's heavy-duty stuff. And Dogman, Grime and Punishment. Interesting combination.
do you think that my family could
Can we get this? We got it. I just signed. What's your name?
Keegan.
Keegan wanted me to sign 2 books. What were the 2 books, Keegan? You want to tell him?
The Republic and Dogman, Grime and Punishment.
All right. Plato's Republic and Dogman, Grime and Punishment. I love the diversity of thought here. That's good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Do you think that my family could get a picture in front of you?
Yeah, let's get a picture. Is this your family?
Yes, sir.
Oh, come on up, guys. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for bringing this, young man. I like this.
Thank you.
I love that. You brought both those books. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
What's your name?
Carrie.
Carrie, thank
Yes,
you for
sir.
being here. Rick, it's good to see you guys. You done the Iowa caucus before?
No, sir.
I'm going to ask you to come out this time.
I will definitely.
Thank you. It means a lot to me.
I really
Thank you,
wish
guys.
I could come, but I'm not 18 yet.
You probably could come. You can't vote, but I'm sure you could come. Yeah, thank you. Let's do it. Thank you. Thank you.
There we go. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You
Thanks
have
a
a
lot.
great night.
Thank you. I appreciate you. It means a lot to me, guys. Bring as many people as you can with you. And then we're going to do this.
I'll make sure
You
to
have a
take the night
special young
off.
man. You have
I do.
I really do. I can
Yes,
tell.
sir, I do.
I can tell we're expecting big things of him. Thank you. I appreciate it, brother.
Y'all
Thank
have a
you.
good night.
Thank you.
I wore my hat from last
Thank
year.
you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I love that hat.
He
It's
was
good to
here
see. Is
last
this your
time
daughter?
we both were. I think I'm the guys that prayed for.
You did. Thank you.
Last time you were here.
I appreciate that. Thank you. If you
Good
could
to
you
see
pray
you
for our
again.
family, I appreciate that.
Yep.
We'd love to have you come to the caucus.
In case you need
I love
me.
this. Thank you. Absolutely. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Spread the
Okay.
positive message. Have you done the caucus before, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet.
Come out this
See you
year.
there.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
I'm proud of you for being here. Great
Yeah.
question.
Nice to
How
see
old are you?
I'm 18.
You're 18. You can do it this time.
Yep.
You know.
I got it.
I'm counting on
I'll
you.
be there.
Great question today too. Thank you.
You
I'm
bet.
proud of you guys.
Good luck
Thank
to
you.
you,
Thank
sir.
you, my man. What's your name?
Keith.
Keith. Thank you for coming, my man.
I don't know why you'd want the job. You know what?
I don't necessarily want it as a
You know how
matter of, you don't
agencies
covet,
people, you look
but we're
at
doing it
getting
out of
the
sense
end
of purpose. Yeah. So.
Good luck to you, man.
Thank you, man. Have you done the caucus?
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, come on out this year, too. We're counting on you. Thank you. Hey, man. Good to see you, brother. What's your name?
Ariman.
Ariman. Good to
Yeah,
see
I'm
you.
Beckham.
Good to see you guys. You guys live in Iowa?
Yeah, names.
Names? You guys citizens?
Huh?
Are you citizens? Can you vote?
No.
Okay, well, thank you for coming out, though.
Can we do this?
Thank you. Yeah, sure. Thank you for coming, guys.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Take care. Love the hat, man. Love the hat again. Good to see you. Thank you for being here, man.
Could you sign this and could you put your favorite quote on there as well?
Yeah, I can. Or
Whether it's
one of
yours
them.
or someone else's.
Yeah.
And I do have a question for you right now too. What's your thoughts on the Federal Reserve? I know you want to go to some sort of crypto.
90% reduction in the Federal Reserve headcount.
Okay.
Restore the stability of the dollar. Peg the dollar to commodities. That's what I would say.
Okay. I read the book.
Woke Inc.?
No, that's on the list. The Beast of Jackal Island.
Oh, nice. Here you go.
Awesome.
There you go,
And a
man.
quick photo?
Thank you. Thank you. Now I have an ask of you.
Yes, sir.
Come to the Iowa Caucus on
Yes,
January
sir.
15th. You bring as many people as you
many
can, like a
people as I
whole
will.
truckload of them.
Yes, sir.
You believe that? We're going to win this thing, man. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, that's where I was for the CNN
I know,
Town Hall
good
at
to see you. I
Grandview.
was there.
Oh, you were there. Awesome. Good
and
to
then
see
I
you.
saw that you were coming to my
I'm
hometown,
glad.
and I was like, I have
Amazing.
to go.
Amazing. How old are you?
21.
21. Amazing,
Yep.
guys. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for coming to my school
Oh, it was
and
awesome.
my hometown.
It was awesome, guys.
Double the trouble. Thank you.
Come to the caucus.
Yes.
Come to the caucus. Thank you.
Thank you.
You spread the message and bring other young people in your generation
I tried.
out.
I brought my friend to the Grandview one, the CNN
That's
one.
good. That's
and
good.
She would have never went without me.
Amazing. That's
she was
good.
Like, I'm not gonna go. And
Bring
I'm
a
like,
bunch
you
of them
have
to the caucus on that Sunday,
Yes.
on that Monday, January
I will
15th.
do my best.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
counting on you. Thank you. Good seeing you, man.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
your
I like-
generation, man. We got to get those young people out. That sounds good.
I like what you said.
Thank you, brother. Bring a bunch of friends with you on January 15th.
Can I get a picture too?
You too, man.
Thank you.
I'm counting on you for it. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out here.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Good to meet you.
Hey, good to meet you. What's your name, man?
Joel.
Joel. It's good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Captain.
Oh, you are?
I am.
All right, man.
We're going to get her
counting on you.
done.
We're going to get her done. Absolutely.
I hope you can survive telling the truth because Tucker and Trump
Oh.
didn't do so well.
Yeah, well, we're ready. I'm guided by my faith, and we're guided by our
too. I hope
purpose,
you
and we're
can do
guided
it.
by, yep, we've
I
got
like
a
what
strong
I hear.
family foundation. Thank you.
I need somebody
With
to
your help, we're going to do
get
it.
a picture.
Gavin will do it.
Perfect. Oh, I probably hit the wrong button there. We're going to get you there, I hope.
With your help, we will. Absolutely. I think we're going to have a shock on January
We're
15th.
going to work on it.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Godspeed.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Thanks for what you're doing. Good seeing you, man. How old are you?
17.
17?
Yeah.
You know, you can do the Iowa Caucus at
I know,
17.
I know.
You're going to
I
do
will,
it.
yeah.
You're going to do it. Yeah.
Hey,
good to see you. You 17 too?
I'm 15.
15? All right, man.
Hey, good job on the videos.
Thank you,
That's how
brother.
you're gonna get people like in our age.
You've been seeing them?
Yeah.
Oh,
video,
awesome.
The Jake Paul video, that was amazing.
Awesome.
That
Thank
was
you,
amazing.
guys. Thank you. We're going to do it.
TikToks, keep it
January
up. Keep it up.
15th. We're going to do it, brother. Thank you.
Love you.
Thank you. Love you back. Thank you for being here. He'll take a picture.
Thank you, sir.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Keep it up. man.
Bring as many of your friends as you can.
Oh, I will.
Bring as many as they can that day. January 15th. You sign up
I'll
with
see
us.
you again. I'll bring a friend.
Thank you, man.
Come to another one.
On January 15th, though, is where you got to bring like a truckload. Yeah.
We got a bunch.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Hey, good night. Absolutely.
Thank you. You're a lot bigger in person.
Is that right? Okay. Well, thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
I appreciate it. I assume you've done the caucus before?
I've never been to a caucus before,
Oh, you haven't?
but I signed up for it.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Come out this time, and it's going to make a big difference to you. It makes a big difference to us. Thank you. Yeah, let's get a picture. Absolutely. If you have a phone.
Can I get a phone? Get a phone on you. Might be dead. He might be dead on you.
Okay.
It's turned on.
That's all right.
What
We'll
did
get
you
on
need
the
it
way
for?
out.
Just take a picture.
Oh,
Here, I got it. I'll text it.
Yeah, sounds good.
okay.
Ready? 1,
Just a minute.
2, 3.
Thank you,
man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Thanks a lot. Take care. Thank you, my man. I appreciate it.
Thanks. I've been a fan of yours since about April now. I've been
Awesome.
I've seen
Thank
you
you,
on
man. Thank you for
Timcast
being
and
here.
Patrick Bet David. And
Thank you for
everything.
being here, brother.
Oh,
We're gonna do this.
Yes, I hope so.
With your help, you're gonna show up on the 15th.
Yeah,
Bring a bunch of people.
I
with you?
signed up.
Have you done it before?
I've not.
Awesome.
I'm,
First
I'm
time.
independent, so.
Thank you.
I think that's why
So
we're
now
gonna win
I
because a
gotta-
lot
I
of
gotta
people like
switch-
you coming out.
I gotta switch to Republican.
We're gonna have a
so
major surprise coming.
That's what I hope for.
Bring a bunch of people with you.
I'm doing my best.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
It's great
Thank you,
meeting
brother.
you.
Good to see you guys.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah.
You gonna get a picture?
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate
Thank
it,
you.
guys.
We're
Thank
listening
you.
in.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
nice
Thanks a
meeting you.
lot. Thank you. I appreciate
Have a
it.
good night.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Bye, Mr.
Hey,
I
good
met
to
your
see.
names, too.
Good to see you again, man. You guys got to come out. Come out for the caucus and spread the message. That's what I asked for. Thank you.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Hey, what's your name?
Ken.
Ken, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I have a couple of good questions for you.
Thank you, Ken.
Right here. One
Thank
of them
you.
is, how do we combat white guilt?
By actually restoring self-confidence and killing this culture of apologism for who we are. You don't deserve to be guilty.
No,
You're made in
I'm
God's
not.
image, you know?
Oh.
Ready? One more? Perfect.
You don't apologize for who you are. Be proud. We're all American.
Since the beginning.
Thank you. All I need is you to spread the word, bring people out, and we're going to win this thing. I appreciate that. Hey, good to see you again.
Yes, good to
How
see
you been?
too. I missed my chance to shake your hand because I took ABC up on an interview, and man, was that a mistake.
Okay, well.
You should have seen the look on her face when she's like, what's the gender? Is there a gender non-binary? And I'm like, no, there's not. And she goes, wait, you could just see the confusion. So I should have just...
You dispelled their narrative.
Yes,
You
exactly.
bring a bunch of people to that caucus for us on January 15th.
Absolutely.
Counting on you.
Hey, that's my birthday. I can't think of anything better.
Awesome. I'm into that. That'd be a good birthday gift
Right?
to give us. But thank
Right?
you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
What's that?
I raised her.
You did. Yes, you did.
was
Well,
good to
thank
see
you.
you.
I didn't know I didn't know you guys came together as a family. That's amazing.
We'll see you on Saturday.
Thank you. We're counting on you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming out. Really
Great
appreciate
seeing
it.
you, man.
Take all the
Thank you.
questions. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
2 teachers. You guys are on the front lines. Hey, good to see you. The right response. No, the right response. Very much the right response.
Yeah, he's 5, and
Thank
she's
you.
got that anxiety,
Thank you.
so.
All right, guys. Well, should we get a picture?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Have you guys done the Iowa caucus before?
No, this is her first time going.
What grades do you teach?
I'm a high school teacher, and she's a professor.
Oh,
So
awesome.
I teach science,
Good.
and she teaches math, so we're kind of a nerdy family.
1, 2, 3. One more.
Sure. Similar to our family.
There you go, exactly. Yes.
So, hey, 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds can come caucus.
Yep.
Tell them that.
Yep.
Bring as many people out as you can, guys.
Absolutely.
We're going to do our part. You asked a great question. You kind of pulled me in an overly detailed answer there, but
I
you
like
got
that. I
me.
like that you give
Okay.
those full answers. Thank you
Yeah,
very
but
much.
thank you.
I
I
appreciate
appreciate that,
safe
guys.
travels.
Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Hey.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Great first question. I really appreciated
Well,
that.
if we can
We'll
fix
get that done. We'll get that done. That much I know I can
well,
do.
we signed up. We'll
That
go
much I know I
caucus
can
for
do.
you.
You put me in that office, we'll get that done.
Sounds good.
Thank you. It means
'Cause
a lot.
They deported her. She came back. They deported her.
No,
again.
but then you have to deport with actual closure of the
Exactly.
border.
It doesn't
So,
do any good to
thank
deport.
you. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it, guys. Thanks a
Air
lot.
Force veteran, 4
You are.
years.
Thank you for your service, my man. We're
I
going to take
forgot
care
to
of our
wear my
veterans.
cap here.
Well, we're going to take care of our veterans, and
Right,
we're
thank you.
grateful to you for your service.
Had a
Thank you.
great honor of going on the honor flight to D.C.
Thank
in
you.
October. That
was an honor.
unbelievable.
I saw that. Well, that's great. Thank you for what you've done for the country. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. That's great news. That's an easy win for us. And especially somebody's a teacher, you could explain that to people. You could give a good speech at the caucus even. My honor. Thank you. And thank you for bringing your little one. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Thank you. All right, man.
All right. How do you feel?
Good. We had a
was a
long,
good day?
long day. I thought it was a good day. We reached a lot of people. It's fitting to fit in a pizza ranch. And, we've been to a lot of pizza ranches. But I will say this one had a particularly Christmassy quality to it. And, I think it's just you get a lot of patriots who are coming out to these events. They come here because they love this country. And it gives me my renewed sense of why we're doing this.
Absolutely.
It's for people who love this country, and we're not doing this for fun. And I think the people who are coming out here aren't coming for entertainment. They're coming because they care about this country. They're concerned about it. And they ask really hard questions.
Absolutely.
And it's really freaking good. I mean, you're talking about Supreme Court jurisprudence from 40 years ago. 10-year-old kid asking about inflation. 9-year-old kid asking about the way our electoral system works. This idea that the next generation is lost is totally off, actually. All they're looking for is some leaders to actually step up and lead them. I mean, especially young men. People who are 19, 20 years old. I don't know if you saw the reactions of some of those guys. They're looking for leadership. And so it gives me that sense of purpose. My little man's on the bus. He came here, hang out for half the event. I'm proud of him. Slogging on these long days. He learned the Pledge of Allegiance yesterday, or we're working on it. I think he's almost there. He's 3.5. By the time he's 4, I think he'll have it down. So I feel good, man. We're embodying our values, and as I said, I'd rather speak the truth and lose an election than to win by playing some fake snakes and ladders. But my gut instinct is we're going to win this Iowa caucus, actually. Most of these people, they haven't voted in a caucus before, but they're coming out for us. They're not polled. So
Shock on the 15th.
I think we're going to have a shock on the 15th,
I do
but
too.
regardless, I'm proud of what we're doing, and I'm proud of the people who are here, and it gives me hope, actually.
Same.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Thanks, man.
Can I get a picture?
Yes. Let's get a picture, young man. Thank you for bringing this young man.
Yes, you're welcome.
Are you local press? Oh, do you do the press as well?
Yes, and I was hoping to get a couple of questions
Thanks.
with you for our paper tomorrow.
Thank you. Let's do it. Can I have a glass with ice real quick? Yeah, thank you.
So you are the candidate that has made Marshalltown a stop more than any other candidate.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because I believe in showing up where others are not. We're going to lead this country without forgetting or leaving anybody behind. There's more to this than just a math equation. And so part of what I'm saying is that we're actually going to be the people who represent the full country. America First includes all Americans, not just some Americans or the ones that live in the most populated areas. We're doing the full Grassley times 2, all the 99 counties, and then some. And my parents also taught me. It's how I led my business career. It's how I achieved success. You spell luck, W-O-R-K.
Yes.
And I think that that's the way I'm going to lead this country, and I want to set that example in the way we're running this campaign.
Okay. And I know you're in a hurry, so the last question, if you are familiar with Toledo, Iowa.
Yes.
About a week and a half ago, they got hit by the Freedom from Religion Foundation, and the nativity scene was taken off of the fire department lawn. Now, it was replaced, but they had to have a secular display to accompany the nativity. So as president, what would be your response to those
All I'll
choices?
say is, at a high level, we need to revive our pride and faith and patriotism, that we are one nation under God. God should not be a four-letter word in our culture, and it's become that way. And so I want to stand for those values for all Americans without having to apologize for them. I think this nation was founded on shared Judeo-Christian values. I share those values in common. People of many faiths, and I'm of Hindu faith, but I share those same values in common. So my job as the president is to swear an oath to the Constitution and keep it, and to stand for true religious liberty. And I do think the revival of faith and belief in God, especially amongst young Americans, is going to be a good thing for our country, not a bad one. And we shouldn't stop ourselves from doing a good thing. That's what I would say.
Okay.
Thank you very much
right,
for being
thank
here,
you.
especially with your son. He's a great young man. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
I am so excited to meet you.
Oh my God, I'm glad you're here.
You saw
Thank
my
you.
kiddos, and
Amazing.
Yes, and they let me hitch a ride with them. I didn't even know you were going to be here. But
Were you here for the event?
Yeah, we've been here.
You've been here. I saw them. Yeah,
Yes,
good,
yes.
good.
So
Thank
I just
you.
wanted to tell you that I appreciate you. I love how you speak. You're so articulate, and
my God.
you're like, it's tangible. Everything that you say, I can grasp it, and it makes
Thank
sense
you.
to me. And our whole family is absolutely 100%, man.
I love that. Thank you.
Yes.
You come out on January 15th.
Absolutely.
And we're going to do our part. Bring as many. I told your sons, bring as many people as you
We'll
can.
rally them up.
Tell my high school.
Everybody, if you're 17 now but you turn 18 before next November, or if you're 18, you get to vote in the Iowa caucus on January 15th. It's like the equivalent of 1 million people showing up in terms of the impact it has on selecting the president. So you guys do your part. I'm going to do mine. 15 minutes of your time to save this country on January 15th. Bring your driver's license. Shock the world. Check it out. And you know what? I'd be happy if you voted for me, but whoever you vote for, come out and do it. And we're doing it for your generation.
Yeah.
Keep it up, guys.
Oh my
Thank
gosh,
you.
that's great.
Thank
so
you.
much.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Still some hoodies.
I love that. I love that.
Because-
We should. Hoodies
it's
are where
cold
it's
in
at.
Iowa.
Yeah, that's
and
a
my
good.
generation is all
Loves
about it.
hoodies. Yeah, that's good stuff, man. I'm proud of you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
I have some stuff for you guys. I was gonna.
Thank you for coming, man.
Yeah, thank you.
What is this?
Just some
For us? Sweet. Thank you for the bus.
Yeah, you're welcome. Can I?
Thank you for coming. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Good to meet you guys.
I'm going to
Thank
spread
you
the
for being
word
here.
in Nebraska for
I would be
you.
so grateful. And if they have some Western Iowans, too, I wouldn't complain. Yeah, thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Take care, guys. Thank you. What's up? Okay. Were we live the whole time?
Side needs really quick for Chloe and Julia.
What's so funny?
Show it.